Yeah. Who say the way? Woo crew going live, in five. In a time where you walk outside, you got your mask like your name, Mike Myers. Ever met a gang that's lit like mine? You got 10, got Graham, they all part of the fam. We got Fran, got Tess, and calling the man. Professor Ross, who started the plan. Got Lauren and Sajin, yeah, they heading the team. Got Kate and Kelsey, ain't nothing to tell me. Marcel and Joe got it hot like Nelly. Saya make the group go higher. Karina, we need her, she'll get it done when it's required. And I'm the one who's supplying all the fire. Woo crew, name a group who fly. Woo crew going live, in five. In a time when you walk outside, you got your mask like your name, Mike Myers. Haven't met a gang that's lit like mine. Woo crew going live, in five. In a time when you walk outside, you got your mask like your name, Mike Myers. Haven't met a gang that's lit like ours. Gone.
What's up, everyone? I'm Colin with the Woo Crew, and we were fortunate enough to conduct an interview with Victor Infante. Victor is currently the entertainment editor for the Worcester Telegram and Gazette and the content editor for the Worcester Magazine. Fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the ride as we bring you Episode 5, Journalism and Hip Hop.
So it's nice to finally meet you virtually.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we'll go around, I guess, introduce ourselves. I'm Graham.
Hi, Graham.
I'm Tan.
Colin,
Nice to meet y'all.
nice to meet you.
So we've looked at some of your work, and we have some questions to
I
hear.
why.
Of course. Yeah, we're just gonna ask you a couple questions to learn more about you. Let's just get into it. Well, first, tell us how you became the entertainment editor for the Worcester Telegram.
Wow, that's a pretty long story, actually. Well, that's actually just a short story. I was kind of sitting there. I started my career in journalism in the late 80s, writing for student newspaper at the time, and writing shortly thereafter, writing for rock zines and poetry magazines and stuff. Along the way, I started writing. I became an entertainment journalist for Worcester Magazine here in Massachusetts, and then in OC Weekly in California, where I'm from. So that was my background, was in writing about arts and entertainment, particularly about music, a little bit about poetry. I moved back here because my wife is from here. 2002. And I started working as a copy editor at the Telegram and Gazette, and I moved to the features department as a copy editor as quickly as I could, basically, about a little less than 2 years into my career. 2 years there. And I've stayed in the department ever since. And I never actually applied for jobs internally after that. They just kind of got handed to me. So, like, I technically have not had a promotion in 18 years. I have all these titles. They just throw titles at me and stuff. It's very strange. This is modern journalism. We inherited Worcester Magazine, so I became the entertainment editor for the Telegram and Gazette. And they had to give me some sort of title because I write, and other copy editors don't write. So they had to do something, and so my responsibilities just kind of grew. But we inherited Worcester Magazine when the company that owned us at the time, Gatehouse, also bought Landmark Corporation, which owned Worcester Magazine. And so after a while of trying to run separately and it not working, my department, the features department, took over the newsroom for Worcester Magazine. So it's all very weird and corporate, and I don't know how to. There's no way I can make it better, sound better than it was what it was. So hopefully that answers some of your question there.
Oh yeah, that's definitely very interesting to hear about. Our next question would be, what aspects of hip hop gravitate you towards writing about the Jaren
Okay.
genre?
So I have kind of a long and strange history with hip hop. In one of my other lives, I'm a performance poet. I write poetry and fiction. I spent a long time in poetry slam, and is particularly in Southern California. So I was very exposed to hip hop through that because there's a lot of in the 90s there was a lot of interlap between those worlds in Los Angeles and Southern California. Not as much here until later. So I moved here, and I kind of the Telegram's music coverage was very metal based, which Worcester's a very much a metal town. It was very rooted in hardcore, and let's face it, it was very middle aged, very white, very male, and I kind of knew there had to be more out there. It's not that I'm a huge hip hop head, though. I enjoy it and I love it, and I've been involved with hip hop in a long number of ways in a long time. At core, I'm still an old punk rocker, but yeah. So I started looking for it, and some I met right away, pretty early on, through poetry again. Leon Legacy and Danny Phantom, guys like that. I got to know them. I know some poets who have from there who dabbled into hip hop or on the edges of that, especially people like Rush Frazier and Ashley Wonder. But on the whole, yeah, it took a while, and it really took. Well, there were two sort of markers I used in my head that kind of crossed over a bunch of barriers and started knocking things down. Because there wasn't a hip hop venue in Worcester at all. There wasn't even a venue where you could occasionally hope to see, you could hope to see a hip hop show on some regular basis. So nobody had any clue what was happening. I knew there had to be an underground hip hop scene, and I was right. But then Worcester rapper named Ghost of the Machine, put out a video for his song Rosetta Stone, which was actually filmed in the back patio behind my work. So this went like everywhere on my Facebook feed, and I was like, whoa, this is great. And also, hey, I know that patio. So I wrote about that, and then little by little I was able to start writing more about hip hop, and more of it started kind of coming out of the shadows. And then Joyner Lucas put out Ross Capaccio, and it was all over. The hip hop scene started in Worcester became mainstream at that point, and started appearing in the light where people could see it, and not you didn't have to go looking behind corners for it. So along came Joyner, as the as the phrase goes.
That sounds very nice and very interesting. And I think you mentioned this a little bit in your talk just now. But is there any person that kind of inspired you to go into kind of journalism and poetry or even hip hop scene at all?
Well, on hip hop, I'm going to say no. I mean, even though I discovered hip hop rap the same way most kids my age did at the time, which was when Run DMC put out their collaboration with Aerosmith, "Walk This Way," and that was about it. Then I was pretty sold, but pretty quickly on it by then. But it was never really an inspiration, and I would never claim to be. I would never claim it to be more than a thing I write about. I'm not. I'm not. It's not one of my. It's not a specialty, as it were. I actually tried very hard not to go into journalism. My grandfather was an editor for the Los Angeles Times. I was dead set on not following in his footsteps. And then I started writing, started making money writing about music, and well, things end up where they end up. So, best laid plans of mice and men and all that jazz. For poetry, there's a lot of people, mostly when I was young in California, a lot of local poets, though. One of my big influences just passed away. I was so very sorry to hear that. Lawrence Ferlinghetti. and I had the opportunity to meet him and interview him once. Um, I've never. It was the first time I've ever really lost control of an interview, where he was just going to talk about whatever he was going to talk about, and it was like trying to control a tornado. So, but it was fun. And then I saw him read, and he was fantastic and very nice in person. So yeah, there's that.
That's that's really nice. And even though you didn't plan for this, I hope you did enjoy the path into journalism. And I think by now you're very like prominent journalism in Worcester. And in Worcester, and in Worcester, what role do you think you play, or how do you feel what role you play in Worcester hip hop community?
That's a really good question, actually. I used to joke that my job was to legitimize rappers to their mothers by giving them something to pin to the refrigerator. I have met so many rappers' mothers. I mean, seriously, I'm not even joking. I remember I was like at the this Beats and Barbecue Festival on the Common a couple years ago, and that Cyrus the Great was organizing. Sky Zoo was playing at it. It was just a fantastic show. But and like Ghost of the Machine and another rapper, Death Over Simplicity. I know he's involved with the Hip Hop Congress up there. Like they come up to me, it's like, hey, I want to introduce you to somebody. And I met Ghost's mom and I met DOS's mom. And I'm like, hi, how you doing? And they were so happy. It's so funny. And now I'm friends with DOS's mom on Facebook. I try not to think too much of having a role. I'm just a storyteller at the end of the day. They're the ones that are doing something important. They are making I really do feel strongly that the musicians in the Worcester hip hop community are doing some really exciting work, and it's just my job to tell that story. You know, I don't want to overstate my importance to that. Whether I was there or not, Joyner was still going to be Joyner. Ghost was still going to be Ghost. Ashley Dage is still going to be Ashley Dage. You know, if I get to share this with a mainstream audience, awesome. If I get to share Boston rappers with my audience here in Worcester, awesome. Same with rock, same with folk, all that jazz. I just really they're the story that I'm telling at the moment. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Thanks so much. Ever since like hip hop's beginnings, it's kind of been compared to poetry in a sense.
Well, it started with poetry.
Yeah. And have you ever tried incorporating characteristics of hip hop into your poetry, or have you ever made an attempt at hip hop lyrics through your experience in poetry?
I'm gonna flat out say no. No, because I am not. That ain't me. That's not my style. It's not my writing. Not what I do. In much the same way that I am not a musician, I am a writer, and music is my subject. I try very hard to be the writer I am and not try to pretend. I am not hip. I am not fly. I'm a kind of square aging punk rocker from Southern California. That's who I am when I write. I don't want to be a rapper per se. I'm just not one. I like rappers. I have many friends that are rappers. Some of my best friends are rappers. Sorry, that was silly. No, but I don't want to. It's not. Wouldn't want to conflate what the story I'm telling, what I'm writing about, and even the music that I often listen to myself. That's not the person I am. That doesn't mean I can't appreciate that. That being said, I did come out of slam poetry, and a lot of the slam poetry cadence is influenced by hip hop directly. And I can't claim that there's no correlation whatsoever, because that would be like, that's pretending I'm not swimming in the ocean. You know what I'm saying? So if I do a line like, see if I can remember this off the top of my head here. Sidewalk angel sidesteps cracks, the fault lines up against cement, no faulty luck, no broken backs, just a deadpan laugh that comes from whiskey nights and broken dreams that echoes from each headshots done for cheap announcement every you could be a star. It's coming from the same root as hip hop, but at the time when I wrote it, I really had no involvement with hip hop whatsoever. I was, it was maybe 1994, I want to say, 5. So, I was doing that as Slam. And I was now looking back, I can say, oh, okay, I was being influenced by a lot of the same writers, a lot of the same cultural forces that were influencing rappers of my age, which would also include people like NWA, stuff like that. Who done. I've shared the stage once with the Watts Prophets, who are one of the original hip hop groups from the late 60s, like before, like right after the Watts riots. They didn't have a name for it back then, but they were poets. They were poets. They were at the a group of poets at the Watts Writer Center, and they wanted to do something in the wake of those riots, something healing. So they took out African instruments and grabbed African musicians that played those and set them to poetry, and you hear it now and it's like, okay, yeah, this is rap. You can see the lines directly. I also got the chance to work with once with the Last Poets out of the Lost Prophets out of New York. I filled in working their merchandise for a show while they were because I had a friend at their label, and they just needed somebody in California that they could trust. And they were really nice guys, but they're usually considered the first hip hop act, like before Grandmaster Flash. Again, we're going back into the late 60s here. And they were a pretty similar story. They were coming out of a poetry, African music, griot tradition. So yeah, if I look back and if I'm not being disingenuous, I look at some of the writers that I love, like Sekou Sandayatu and I'm blanking names now because I didn't plan to go down this route, but African writers out of the late 70s or mid to late 70s, or African American writers out of the late 70s, Gwendolyn Brooks, for instance. Yeah, there's all those same cultural influences there. So the long about way of answering your question was no, but yes. Like I said, I would never try to be. I don't want to be the person I'm not. That's an act of appropriation. But there are points where we are indeed swimming in the same waters.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
So you've already talked about your role of inside the Worcester music industry. So could you talk about Got It Covered and what compelled you to create it?
Oh man, Got It Covered. Dan, we haven't done that. We only did one season of that. I was doing something. A few years back, I used to occasionally do what is called a retro view. I would review an old album for some, there was some news hook to it, and look at it from the point of view of where we are now, looking back 20 years or whatever, 30 years. And I kind of wanted to do one on Phil Collins' No Jacket Required, because the anniversary had come up, and for the life of me, I could not figure out what I wanted to say. But what I could do is I could convince a whole bunch of musicians to agree to cover a song in advance without knowing what the song would be or who it was by. So I set up this experiment. It's called the Great Cover Song Challenge. And usually more than 100 local musicians have been in it. And so I assigned pretty much all of Phil Collins's songbook and most of Genesis's to musicians from all over the world, and they all recorded they got handed a song, they had to record a cover of it. And looking at what they did gave me a way to understand what the original musicians did, what Phil Collins did. Later, we went on, we did Air Supply, and that actually got us a letter from Air Supply, which was fun. They were very nice. I did, Madonna at one point, 80s movie soundtracks, some of my favorites there. A number of them. I've been too busy to revisit it, but got it covered came from having all this music around and wanting to put it to one more use, as it were. So I worked with WCCA, and I'm a judge on their music competition, New Voices. So I was able to kind of go in and say, why don't we do this? Why don't we make a show of this, and put all this work to one more use. And it was fun. It was good for a time. I don't know if we're going to do a second season. We are working on what I think is going to be the 5th or 6th season of New Voices soon. The last one got canceled because of the pandemic. But yeah, man, that's a blast. I haven't thought about that in a while. Maybe I do need to. Should I do another one?
For sure.
Excellent. But I do like working in community access TV. I keep my hand in community access TV and also community radio. So those are more hobby than work at this point, but it's been both have been a fascinating learning experience.
Very interesting. You've mentioned some of these people that you've worked with. So we were wondering, what bonds have you made with some of the local people from Worcester?
It's hard because I always say I'm not going to. I try to keep a professional distance with most people. If you see me at a show, rock, hip hop, whatever, I'm usually back at the bar, the back of the room, not really socializing. That being said, a lot of those guys I do get along with very well. Ghost of the Machine and DOS being probably top of the list. Phantom, Leon Legacy. I've known them so long that I think at this point they I can admit they're friends. I try to get along well with everybody if I can. Some people I just don't have a personal relationship with. It's just business, but that's fine. That's in many cases that's preferable. But no, thank you for having me. It's an honor, and I like what Megan's doing up there, and I think it's an interesting project. I'm glad to see you doing it. I'm glad to see some of the names I saw involved with it were pretty exciting. So
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we hope you have a good day and a good weekend overall.
All right, you too. Take care. Please feel free to drop a line if you have more questions or anything.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
And now a word from our state rep, Daniel Donahue, about an important nonprofit organization located in Worcester. We hope you will support in solidarity with the Woo Crew.
Hi, I'm Daniel Donahue, Massachusetts State Representative for the 16th Worcester District. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you a bit more about Abby's House, a nonprofit organization that values women from diverse backgrounds and experiences in my hometown of Worcester, Mass. The mission of Abby's House is to provide shelter and affordable housing, as well as advocacy and support services to homeless, battered, and low-income women with or without children. This is an important organization in our community, values hospitality, diversity and inclusion, compassion and respect, women's self-determination, and collective effort. Holy Cross was the first class to help support the women of Abby's House by providing volunteers to staff the shelter dating back to 1976. And Holy Cross students and alumni continue to partner with Abby's House by providing monetary, in-kind, and volunteer support. I hope you'll consider joining us by making a donation to Abby's House in honor of their 45th anniversary. Your donations will help to keep in operation the 79 units of supportive housing and 9 overnight shelter beds of Abby's House. Additionally, your donation will contribute to the wonderful programs of Abby's House, such as providing each woman with an advocate who helps her identify realistic goals and provides her with the tools she needs to achieve these goals. If you are able and willing to make a gift to this amazing nonprofit, please click the link accompanying this video. If you would like to learn more about Abby's House, including opportunities for volunteering, please visit them at abbyshouse.org. Thank you.
Thank you for your time listening to our state representative talk about this great opportunity to support the Worcester community. And now back to the Woo Crew for more excitement.